here on behalf of President Biden and my wife, Vice President Harris, to deepen the United States' relationships with our European allies and friends in and out of government to combat the rise in anti-Semitism around the world.
Doug Emhoff, the first second gentleman in our nation's history, was prepared to support his wife, Vice President Kamala Harris, as a sort of emissary, crisscrossing the nation, highlighting White House initiatives. But his focus has evolved, shifting to one that is local as well as global and very personal. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Emhoff. It's great to have you.
Great to see you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
You have long been proud of your Jewish heritage, but after the alarming rise in anti-Semitism and hate crimes here and abroad, you really leaned into fighting hate. Your wife says the cause found you, and it was after a hateful banner was unfurled right here on the 405.
I'm the first Jewish person ever to be married to a president or a vice president. So I decided even from day one, I was going to live proudly and openly the way we have. So we have the first mezuzah on the door of the residence here. We've had the first menorah. We celebrated Rosh Hashanah at the White House.
And I could still smell that brisket cooking and burning in the kitchen.
Do everything that we were doing before, but just do it openly and proudly and with joy. Anti-Semitism has been around forever. Even when I became second gentleman, it was an issue, it was something I was talking about, speaking out about. But once that banner unfurled on my freeway, my town, my neighborhood, because even in my neighborhood on the west side, we had those little flyers and the little bags with the rocks on my own driveway, on my street. At least I was furious. And I wanted to do more than what I'd been doing.
Yeah, that was after the former president hosted Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, an avowed white nationalist, and of course West has made numerous anti-Semitic statements. You have seen the numbers just as I have. The numbers of anti-Semitic incidences in LA County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and Kern County have shot up 30% in 2022 over the year prior. What is fueling it?
Well, and Lisa, unfortunately, I think the numbers are even worse. That's just what's getting reported. And so it's probably even worse than that. I think it's always been there. So number one, but two, COVID and the politics and the misinformation, the disinformation, this epidemic of hate that's out there around the world is really fueling it. You see it in so many different aspects of life right now. So we must, take action. I decided I had to do more, and that really led to by meeting at the White House with various Jewish groups. It led to the standing up and the administration of an interagency group that's responsible for drafting a national plan to combat anti-Semitism. And it took me to Europe, where I went to Auschwitz and Birkenau. And then I went to meet with world leaders on this topic of what can we all do as a world. We must bring together people from all backgrounds, all faiths, all ethnicities, because hate is interconnected. Then I went to the UN. I've been speaking all over the country on this, leaning into it, and using this microphone that I have by virtue of being married to the first woman vice president, Kamala Harris, and I'm going to just take advantage of this opportunity to do anything I can. I also realize that being Jewish in this role comes with responsibility. People are expecting me, rightly, to use the microphone to fight, and that's what I'm going to do.
And we did see you in late January. It was Holocaust Remembrance Day that you were at Auschwitz, Birkenau. That had to be very emotional, as was a detour you took to a small village in Poland where your great-grandparents fled persecution more than a century ago. Your parents didn't know you were going on that trip. How emotional was it to tell them about it?
Very. A lot of tears. It was something I didn't want to talk to my dad about, my mom, until I saw it myself and had all the information. So once I came back from Europe, and they of course had seen some of the images on online, but we had a family Zoom. I had my brother and sister and my parents, and I kind of presented to them pictures and the information that I received, and it was heavy. And my father, who I've said in the article in the LA Times, he is a man of very few words, and to see his emotion, the tears, and just seeing through his own son, who's now the second gentleman of the United States, being able to track down where his grandparents escaped. But Lisa, unfortunately, what I learned is others in my family didn't escape. They, like millions of others, were taken into the town square and just shot and murdered and buried in a ditch, which is also the story of the Holocaust. And I didn't know that. My father didn't know that. So I presented that information too. So you can imagine it was very emotional. It's something we've tried to talk about a little bit more, but frankly, it's difficult. It's difficult. But he's so glad I went. It's so much pride, the fact that I was able to do this and represent our country in that way, but also represent our family in that way. Is very moving for this man of, like I said, very few words.
And what would they think about this kid from Brooklyn sitting before you today in the White House as the first second gentleman of the United States?
Many of us have, at some point, been a +1 to our partner, there to support, but without any real individual purpose. But the spouse of the Vice President of the United States, Doug Emhoff, has, as we just heard, found a true purpose and passion, using his platform to combat anti-Semitism at home and abroad. But really, at home, at the official residence in D.C., or their family home in Brentwood, what's it really like to be the first of his kind? In this role, you will be experiencing things that you didn't experience as an entertainment lawyer, I am guessing. But I have to ask you this, Mr. Emhoff, after years of having your own identity, being known first as an entertainment lawyer, now you're primarily identified as the spouse of the Vice President of the United States. Did that take a little bit of getting used to? And does it change the balance of power around the house? I mean, when the dishwasher needs to be emptied, who has to do it?
Oh my goodness. So love my life in LA, and I love being an entertainment lawyer there. I love my routine. So anytime, Santa Monica stairs and going to get coffee at the Brentwood Mart and Pop's Bagels and all the things that I used to do. If I get home, I still try to replicate that in some fashion. But sure, of course, I love being a lawyer. I always wanted to do what I became doing, but oh my gosh, to be able to step away from that career and do it to support my wife, who's the first woman vice president, and to see what she's doing in the country on the world stage. I do it, like I say, I do it without any bitterness, without any saltiness. I do it gladly to support her. But it really hasn't changed any balance of power. She's an awesome wife. She loves me, supports me, helps me. And so, yes, I think it's how it was before. I definitely, I'm on sink duty when she cooks, and she likes to cook a lot. So our deal is, if she cooks for me, I will do the dishes and put them in the dishwasher, and that's our deal. So that deal still stands.
And that is the right answer, Mr. Emhoff. That is the right answer. I got to ask you about business calls, though, because, I'm sure you have been on business calls late at night, and she has in her different jobs. But this is kind of next level when you get those late night business calls. It could be the president of the United States or a head of state. What do you do? Do you leave the room? Do you walk the dog?
Yeah, we keep everything very separate. So we know if that phone rings late at night, it's not, like my mom calling her to check in or anything like that. It's something serious, and it involves all these issues that, maybe subsequently days later we might see on TV. That's what's so serious about this job. Being vice president is a 24/7 job. It follows my wife, the vice president, which is still surreal to say. It follows her wherever she is. So we may be at the residence in DC. You may be thinking, okay, we're trying to, maybe it's late, get in 20 minutes of TV or something, but she's still vice president. So you always have that phone rings. She's got to, be vice president no matter where, when, what time. And that's just a pretty awesome thing.
What is the perfect date night for the Vice President of the United States and the second gentleman when you're home in LA?
So honestly, it's going to sound trite. It's her cooking for the family. So the ultimate is if she can get in that kitchen and she's got the herbs in our backyard, and if she can source her ingredients and spend some time. And she loves to cook. She's so really amazing at it, and I definitely love to eat. That's really it. If we can do that and have that kind of evening, that's amazing. And unfortunately, we don't get to do that too much. And if one of the two kids happen to be in town, or a close friend, have them come over, because it's a little difficult with the whole operation for her to go out. So we have neighbors who's like, "We love you, Doug and Kamala, but San Vicente's blocked and we can't." So we're mindful of that, but it's we kind of spare the neighborhood sometimes of going out to some of our favorite restaurants.
And I do have to say that I saw a recent tweet of yours, and I happen to know that if you did get tickets to the Lakers, you'd probably show up.
Oh, so this is a whole situation in the household. Uh, Kamala is a serious Warriors fan. I mean, serious. We watched the games, and after that game 7, when the Warriors beat the Kings, I already knew the Lakers were in, and we looked at each other. It was like, game on. Made a very public bet, and loser has to wear the other's jersey. And I'm a hardcore Laker fan. I'm in several, text chats about the Lakers. That's something. No matter what I'm doing, I'm still following our team.
Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman. It has been a pleasure to have you visit us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you.